Ayo manless Moz, it's me Mansant back at you with today's installment of the Best of 3 series. This time we take a look at the Bravo matchup. Now, Bravo actually has a win condition all in just one card when he plays against Levia, and that is Crippling Crush. Crippling Crush is an amazing card in that early late game stage when Levia's got around like 10 Blood Debt or so, and if Bravo can land a dominated Crippling Crush or even a pummeled Crippling Crush, his ability to strip those cards out of hand is going to potentially put Levia in a position where they just have no way left to turn off Blood Debt, and so they take damage twofold from the attack itself, and then from the Blood Debt they incur and then most likely die. Now, if Bravo plays cards like Crippling Crush early, they're actually beneficial for Levia because it lets you fill your graveyard pretty handily, all from just one attack. And you do take some damage, but overall filling graveyard is a nice side effect because you can even get some non-blocks in there. Now, the rest of Bravo's strategy into Levia is that he's normally going to play pretty defensive. He has a lot of 3 blocks on his cards. He also has very good blocking equipment. And with that, he just wants to play a blockout and then whittle game with cards like a Nothos, or potentially even swinging in with some other attacks like Spinal Crush or some go-agains with Rouse the Ancients. If Bravo does this, what he's really trying to threaten is Carrion Husk, because if he can get rid of Carrion Husk before he's played that first Crippling Crush, then it is that much more likely that Crippling Crush is going to land its crush effect and potentially win Bravo the game. Now, as a Levia player, when a deck tends to play defensively into you, this build actually is pretty okay with that. You have a lot of ways to instantly fill grave with Barraging Beatdowns and Sigil of Solace. Of course, you have your Turtle Cracking cards in Bloodrush Bellows, your Dominates in Convulsions, and then of course the potential to stack Barraging Beatdowns with your Writhing Beast Hulks, all to really crack those Turtle decks. The other best card in this matchup is going to be Howl from Beyond, and that is because when a deck passes large hands into you, they tend to just block out and then pass you like 4 or 5 cards. Howl from Beyond is fantastic to turn those cards into damage without having to roll Scabskins. Now, Scabskins is a card that is really good in this matchup, but you don't necessarily want to roll it very greedily because what you really want to save it for is when you've summoned Blasmafet. This is a matchup where you definitely will get to the point where you can summon Blasmafet, and if you do, you want to do it on a turn where you've already presented a previous threat, potentially like a Dread Screamer or a Blood Rush or some other attacks that you had action points to play into Blasmafet. And that's because Bravo has to keep 2 cards to kill Blasmafet and deal 6 damage to it. And him keeping 2 cards on a turn that potentially is like Dread Screamer and the Blasmafet swing means he took significant damage just to turn around and kill Blasmafet. And he has to kill Blasmafet because otherwise you have a way to survive a crippling attack. If Blasmafet's still in play, all you need to do is have a 6 power shadow attack in hand so that you can still swing 6 turn off Blood Debt, and that is just going to save your Tugus. So Bravo really can't let it stay in play. Of course, if it is in play ever, you want to make sure you've got your Scabskins and Gambler's Glove still, because it is just so free to be able to swing for 6 with that extra action point because it costs you nothing to do so. So overall, I'd say this matchup's actually pretty Levia favored because Bravo has to at least interact to some degree to get rid of your Husk, so you get to block pretty well. But then when he tries to keep cards to play Crippling Crush, normally he has to keep 2 or 3 cards just to pitch for Crippling Crush itself. You're going to have a huge amount of momentum, and if you can line up some of your really good turns like the Blood Rush or the Doomsday Summon into when Bravo wants to play Crippling, he's never really going to get the breathing room to do it. So let's just see how the best of 3 went. Welcome to the gameplay portion of today's video. Who we've got on the left here is actually a newcomer to the stream again. We've got Aaron, who is a dedicated Bravo player, although he takes it most of the time to CC, not necessarily Blitz. But he was happy to volunteer today, so glad I got him on the cam. What we saw there was the die roll, and I did win, so I do choose to go first in this matchup because you don't want Bravo to just get a ton of free damage on you by potentially starting with a strong dominate attack on your turn 0. And this deck also has pretty decent turn 1 plays, so there's no harm in just going ahead and trying for turn 1, get something good set up, and of course put something in their arsenal as well. So we saw all those things happen already. I was able to go ahead play a Ghostly Visit out, and get that Blood Rush in arsenal. And it's an interesting draw because I actually redrew into another Blood Rush hand, and I don't like going double Blood Rush on the same turn. It's better to spread your threat out across 2 turns because a Blood Rush is going to mean you chip damage anyway, and of course take cards from their hand. So if you double stack the Blood Rush on the same turn, yes, it's more damage, but you're not threatening the same amount of tempo actually because you're only taking 1 turn of cards out of their hand versus a potential 2 turns of cards out of their hand, right, if you spread it across 2 turns. The other thing is that Blood Rush enables your Mandible Claws, and so if you stack them on the same turn, I mean, what have you gained? I mean, your claws are already on. Whereas if, of course, you play them back to back, then that's 2 turns of getting your claws off. So I don't like double stacking them, especially when you're against Bravo here, where when it's this early in the game, getting a huge chunk of damage is cool and all, but if it's not lethal, then it's not really changing how the Bravo wants to play into you anyway, where they're more than happy to just block out and try to make your graveyard management difficult and potentially take blood debt here and there for that end game crippling to hopefully seal the game. So yeah, a huge chunk of damage just wouldn't actually change how they are going to play that strategy anyway. So no reason to force double Blood Rush. Instead, I'm just going to play it a bit slower. Go ahead and get the claws going here. It was a bit of an awkward start because I didn't have a blue to pitch to get that Blood Rush in hand started. However, I had the Beast Within guaranteed discard, so that's always great because it means that I get that extra card in hand, and I was fortunate enough to hit a blue Deadwood Rumbler right off the bat. So now my turn gets to still come to some semblance of a threat. In fact, it's actually a massive turn if I'm able to hit the Ghostly Visit on this Dread Screamer here, which is pretty likely because I have 4 cards in grave right now. So 1 in 4 on the miss there to just not hit the Ghostly. So odds are favored to go ahead hit it because that would push this Blood Rush turn all the way up to 22 damage, and it was like an impromptu Blood Rush because I didn't even set it up. I'm not using the card in Arsenal here. So I did hit the Ghostly, which is fantastic. 22 damage off of that 4-card starter hand, and I even blocked with a card. I blocked the Scabskins and another card in there when he threw in one of his attacks. So pretty ridiculous how the Blood Rush Beast Within combo functions. Very, very disgusting. This also puts me at 3 cards in graveyard again. The recursion piece of Ghostly is going to refill, so that means I'll have the Dread Screamer, Ghostly, and I think it was a Hungering in there, which is fantastic. I also have a Blood Rush set up in Arsenal again, though, so that can mean that I didn't even necessarily have to put my graveyard back at 3, because Blood Rush is going to fill it with 2 cards, obviously itself, and then whatever I discard. So this is just some extra padding in the graveyard that I'm very fortunate to have here. So Aaron had to block with a significant amount of his hand here, but he did go ahead and keep some threat in there because he wants to threaten Husk, right? That's still part of his game plan where he needs Husk to be gone for his crippling to actually threaten game. So he decided to, he took quite a chunk, used his armor as kind of a pivot point here so that he can threaten Husk. But I'm pretty okay with using cards in hand and throwing that extra Scabskins in there. It does get rid of my block on Scabskins, but this is huge. I made Aaron take a huge chunk of damage to try to threaten Husk, but I went ahead and was able to still not get Husk off the board just yet. My hand is still going to be pretty decent here. So I'm going in for the Blood Rush, and this is because I had the 2 6s in hand, so I knew I'd keep at least one of them to be able to claws into an attack. It doesn't mean it would necessarily be the best turn. I already had a very above average Blood Rush on the 22 damage of the last Blood Rush turn, so pretty much anything's going to be decent for sure. And with this, I was actually very rewarded. I discarded the Endless Maw, So by drawing just that one other blue, that means I can slot in the Boneyard Marauder that I already had in hand very, very handily to come in for 18 total. Very, very strong Blood Rush turn. I didn't miss anything. No, just didn't miss anything there. Everything went my way. Even went ahead and banished the Ghostly Visit, so this is great, setting myself up for future turns. I've also found the Howl from Beyond by digging that extra, like 5 cards in at this point because of the 2 Blood Rushes and the Beast Within. Maybe some more with the Eye of Ophidia. I don't remember if I opted put him on the top or bottom. But now the Howl from Beyond in Graveyard is going to be fantastic as soon as I get it there. It's in Arsenal now, but I know that Aaron just had no threat. He full blocked and passed into me. So I go ahead and will be able to get this recursion piece already online. Although unfortunately with the hand I've got right now, I don't have exactly enough resources to necessarily make it this turn. So I'm going to start with a Scabskins roll because I have the Ghostly Visit set up. So remember, these extra action points will equal at least the 4 damage that Ghostly can present. So that is worth the roll, and I am rewarded with getting the double action point here. But no matter what, it was actually fine if I hit even just the 1 action point because my hand is pretty dynamic in that I have an Endless Maw and a Deadwood Rumbler. So if I'd hit the 1 action point, it was probably more worth it to just try for the Deadwood Rumbler because my blood debt wasn't that high in that if I missed the Deadwood Rumbler, it'd be that devastating. But if I hit the double action point, then I can go for the tons of value here in being able to play the Endless Maw and potentially hit that Ghostly Visit to get that recursion piece back in already as well. So we're looking at a hand that presented, 13 damage total. Also setting up the Ghostly Visit again and putting myself pretty happily with the Howl still playable from Arsenal. Got that Sigil in hand as well to go ahead and set up the graveyard how I want it. That puts me at the Sigil, the Ghostly, and then the Endless Maw in graveyard. So anything I lead with that banishes 3 will be perfectly fine with the graveyard like that. So we see the life disparity here. Aaron is forced to just keep blocking out because of the huge momentum I had on the back of double Blood Rush. But it doesn't actually change how this would be playing out anyway, where Aaron just tries to block, and threaten Husk. Of course, with the Sigil I've found, I'm now very ahead on his ability to threaten Husk here. So that's pretty fantastic. He's going to be hard pressed, even if he just tries to swing with a Anothos for 4. If I just throw 1 card in front of it, the Husk will not be threatened. So Aaron is just not looking great at all. He's completely out of his blocking equipment. I have huge recursion pieces in the bank already, and the banishes are still hitting him. So this is 9 dominate on this Writhing Beast Hulk here. Very, very strong attack, pushing quite a bit of damage, but Staunch Response lets him protect at least a bit. He's not quite in Reckless Swing range, so I will still have to be as proactive as possible in ending this game. But even when you've got your opponent to about 3 life here, and knowing that you don't have the Blood Rush anymore, as a Levia player, you should still feel very comfortable in spots like this because of the dominates that you still have left in the deck, and because of the math breaking you still have with Scabskins and Howl from Beyond. So I actually have all of that in kind of like at once again in this hand. So of course I can start with the Scabskins roll to see if I can abuse those Ghostly Visits, but I'm not rewarded there. That's fine. Next line becomes, all right, let's play towards the Howl from Beyond dominate out. So we're going to go there. I've got that Writhing Beast Hulk in hand. So this is a super similar turn to what we saw actually just last turn, where I'm coming in for 9 dominate again. And this is going to force Aaron to have drawn another string of tall defense reactions to be able to survive this, because if he doesn't, then it is just game. And it looks like, sure enough, he doesn't have any way to survive this dominate attack here because my banish couldn't have missed. So very swift game 1. We saw the power of Blood Rush stealing tempo, and then the Howl recursion package coupled with a couple of very nice ghostly plays as well to just absolutely close that game faster than it deserved to be. So that's like the high roll potential of Levia. It feels great when it happens. Don't even give Bravo a chance to set up a crippling, set up some pummel play. You just roll them with damage. So we see game 2 here, and Aaron has chosen to go first. And we talked about this. I told him not to swing on his turn 1 because that lets me just fill stuff in graveyard and potentially go ahead and get my attacks off that early. But his counter to that was actually that in this matchup in particular, if he can bait me into playing really aggressive with my graveyard before I've set up any recursion pieces, then that plays towards his win con as well to kind of clunk me out and make me take blood debt. So he actually purposefully wanted to swing there, but I did have the Ghostly in hand already to set up potentially very early in the banish zone here. So love to see that. I also decided to go ahead, slow down in being so, I guess, overzealous in blocking with 3 cards. You saw me hold that Endless Maw because I know that card's just way stronger in Arsenal. So not going to go too greedy, was just hoping to find some kind of other play, and that Beast Within was exactly that. So now we see that I do have the Endless Maw set up in Arsenal here, but Aaron has the Tear Asunder applied on his Anothos, which means it's coming in for 7 Dominate. And this is a very scary card. It's not the same degree as Crippling Crush because it is at least cards you choose. So that's a lot better than random cards that can just pull away your ability to turn off Blood Debt. Normally, the Tear Asunder isn't really going to threaten the game. It's just going to threaten some interesting choices. So it's coming in for 7. I've got 2 non-blocks, well actually 3 non-blocks in hand in the Sigil, the Eye of Ophidia, and the Deadwood. The other card is another blue. I don't see quite what the blue is. So I'm going to go ahead and decide to just discard 2 of my non-blocks anyway, but then get myself back up to protecting my Husk by playing the Sigil there immediately. You have to play it immediately because if I started my turn, Husk would have immediately banished. And then by just keeping a blue, I am rewarded by having that Endless Maw Arsenal here to still swing 9 on the back of a turn that Aaron thought would really stump me. So this is all going quite well at the moment. I did lose my Arsenal, so that can hurt, especially in this matchup where if Aaron just draws into exactly what he wants to see, perhaps like a pummeled crush attack on this next turn, then I'm just going to lose a ton of momentum. But if he falls back on the plan I'm hoping to see, which is just playing more defensive, then I will likely have the ability to reset my Arsenal, no big deal. So I'm a little worried here because I see him keep 3 cards plus Arsenal, so something good is coming. Now, fortunately for me, the reason he kept those cards was more of a defensive play in playing the Blessing. So I didn't expect that. I thought he would have a very strong aggro turn into me. Instead, he's able to string together 3 Blessings, which, I mean, has the potential here to heal him a ton of life. It's 2 blues and a red in play. Then he actually drew a 4th one as well. But the 4th one can't be played, didn't have the pitch for it, so instead just making that Seismic, and now he's got a huge turn here set up to potentially heal, what would that be, 3, 4, 5 health total, perhaps? We'll see if it happens. So on my end, because he passed into me with a large hand and I already have that Ghostly set up, it is worth rolling the Scab Skins, but I'm checking misses here, and I have 2 misses in the graveyard with that Sigil and the Eye of Ophidia. So leading with the Ghostly is perhaps a little too greedy because it will mess up my miscount in graveyard. But my blood debt is not very high, so it's not the worst if that happens. So I'm going for kind of an alternate line there, where we're going to start with the blue Barraging Beatdown. This isn't going to necessarily push that much damage, but it's just a way to be efficient with my hand here, because I get to come in now with the Writhing Beast Hulk. This is coming in for 8 Dominate. It's very unlikely that he'll be able to turn off the +2. So that's nice for me. If the Dominate didn't hit and I banished my 3 misses, it's also just not that much of a big deal because it'll pull 2 cards from his hand and I really don't mind that. This isn't a turn where I'm necessarily pushing too much damage. My hand can't really do it. Instead, I'm going to slow down and present what I can and reset my arsenal here for something way stronger. And we see that I have the Hungering Slaughter Beast, so this is perfect to put an arsenal here because this sets me up to draw into Blood Rush. By having any kind of attack in arsenal, of course, it just makes those turns so much better. So, very happy with how this played out. Aaron, once again, is keeping a decent-sized hand here with the arsenal plus 3 cards in hand. So this could just be an insane turn from him overall. So he's going to go ahead and reveal on the blessings. Now, very unfortunate, that first reveal was a blue staunch. So the 2 blue blessings will not heal him. But he does gain 2 reds, or rather 2 life from the red blessing. So looks like the reason Aaron kept those cards in hand was because he's setting up here for a Spinal Crush that is potentially threatening a Pummel. Now, I didn't quite see what was in his arsenal. Aaron being new to the stream, I had to remind quite a bit on how to hold cards. I still don't think he was doing it exactly right. So we'll see if that is a Pummel. It definitely feels like a Pummel. You got to play around the fact that these things might be Pummels. So even though this wasn't dominated, blocking exactly 9 means that if it is that red Pummel, then the crush effect is still going to go through. Now, lucky for me, this isn't really a huge go again turn anyway, just by the hand I've got. I've got double, I believe, blue Dread Screamer, a blue Wrecker Romp, and then a yellow Hungering Slaughter Beast. So this isn't a turn where not losing go again is going to be that punishing. So it basically means I have to commit Husk here though. And this is when it gets a bit scary because life is pretty even, and losing Husk before I've seen at least 1 crippling is pretty scary. So I'm going to go ahead and block the full 9, make him have the Pummel, not just threaten it. And he does have the Pummel, and that's really not the biggest deal here because I've got that extra card in hand that I can discard because my best turn is really just swinging with the Hungering Slaughter Beast anyway. I don't have the Ghostly Visit set up in Banished, so it's a little bit greedy to lead with the Scabskins, hoping that you hit the Ghostly Visit. I mean, the odds just aren't great for that anyway, so that would just be like the ultra greed play to do that. Oh, so it's a red Hungering Slaughter Beast, actually, not a yellow. Cool thing about the Spinal Crush hit effect is that Scabskins are just action points, not go again, so it actually still would have worked. So there we go. It's fine. I didn't hit the Ghostly Visit anyway, so I'm glad I didn't go for the Ultra Greed line. So just going to swing in for 7, which is still pretty significant because we're at a point here where Aaron can't use his Skullcap to block on this attack, and he doesn't have Arsenal. So if he wants to full block that 7, it would at least be 2 cards out of hand-ish. It would still plink a bit of damage through. And I'm totally fine with that if he decides to block with 2 cards, which is effectively what he does here by blocking with the Staunch. It costs him another card in hand to play it. So now we see Aaron's going to go ahead and play for that Spinal Crush. A Showtime here means that he is very set up to get a Crippling Crush off here because Showtime is going to draw a card at the start of his turn, which helps him have that card, that hand size he needs to still push through a dominated Crippling. And of course, I don't have the Carrion Husk up yet, or up anymore rather, and my blood debt is a little bit significant. So this is looking pretty scary, but I do have a very nicely set up turn myself. I have that Hungering Slaughter Beast in Arsenal, and I've drawn the Doomsday, along with a great way to lead threat into that Doomsday. Remember what I mentioned in the intro to this video. So I'm going to go ahead and get that Dread Screamer off. It's going to gain go again. I mean, I was guaranteed to hit that anyway. So my blood debt is racking up quite a bit. However, summoning that Blasmafet is going to be so ideal for how Aaron has wanted to set up this aggressive turn. And when he sees this, he will definitely not be happy. So he's going to go ahead and block 6 on that Dread Screamer there. And this is that beautiful Blasmafet play swinging in. So this is where Aaron is not only forced to keep 2 cards in hand, but he's also really hard pressed to get that crippling off like ever again. Now with the life that I've put him at. So yeah, because in theory, right, he needs another 3-card hand to be able to pull off the dominated crippling. And with the life that he's at now, and the fact that I'm still very ahead with an arsenal set up, with that ghostly recursion piece set up, there's just basically no way he's going to get that chance again, especially with his blocking equipment gone. So this is the predicament for Aaron. He's got the 3 cards in hand. So does he still go for Crippling Crush at my face and just kind of sadly acknowledge the fact that it's really not going to win him the game and instead just be one turn closer to the inevitable defeat anyway? Or does he kill Blasmafet and hope that the inevitability of the defeat is gone now and he can somehow claw it back? I mean, it is just a tough spot for Aaron here, and this is why Levia is very strong against this matchup in Blitz format. Because in the Blitz format, the life is such where Bravo can't find these multiple opportunities to pull things off like Crippling Crush. Whereas in Classic Instructed, there's multiple chances where Bravo could use their life as a resource to make that call on crippling that could potentially just win them the game versus Levia. But this is Blitz, so once I've dealt a significant chunk of life, then you don't really get to make choices like that anymore. You're just hard pressed. And that's what we see here. Aaron has to make the decision. He goes ahead, says crippling face, and we'll just hope and pray. And I'm pretty happy with this because I actually even have the ability here to just take the full 11 if I wanted, to guarantee that I have enough resources to even just play like the Hungering and Arsenal, or if I keep a shadow card, then it could be I could just swing with Blasmafet. I mean, I have a ton of options with a hand like this, and I'm going to go ahead and decide, let's go ahead and maximize the damage I can soak while still keeping good plays open. So by sinking below and putting that Fate Foreseen on the bottom, I'm searching for ways to actually just find more 6s or shadow 6s. So I'm still going to take 7 damage here and now discard 2. I have only good targets left, right? Because I have that Hungering Slaughter Beast, I had the Beast Within, and the Deadwood. So no matter what I hit there, I was going to at least be able to turn off Blood Debt with Blasmafet. So instead, what we see is the Beast Within discarded, which refills my hand a little bit there. I take a bit of damage here, but it's not lethal, thank goodness. So now it's back on me on the play where I just have this fantastic ability here to just keep on the pressure with Scabskins, because Blasmafet, our boy, he is still there. So we're going to go ahead, roll. Did get the double action points again. So, oof, just amazing. Just amazing. 6 attack for no resource cost. So we're just gonna sit pretty here. I'm gonna go ahead and lead with the Hungering Slaughter Beast. Debatable that I actually should have just swung with Blasmafet first so that Aaron didn't know what the rest of my turn would be. But we're getting antsy because game's almost over here, and I love it when Levia is in such a good spot like this. So coming in for 7, Aaron knows that I've got Blasmafet here swinging next. And I will once again be able to set up Arsenal with an attack that turns off Blood Debt. So I've just got every safety net I want still available to me. I even have Hope Merchants, which I actually haven't used Hope Merchants at all in this Best of 3 series yet. But it's there for those really long games where Aaron has all the defense tools that he wants, just basically line up perfectly, and the game goes really long. And then I'm just forced to start stringing together pretty subpar hands into something that will still turn off Blood Debt. So that's really why it's there. It's that safety net, but I don't have to use it. So that's fantastic. And that just means I get to be relentless in my assault here, knowing that basically nothing can go wrong. So now Aaron has to full block, and the more of these 2 blocks I can catch his deck with, the better, because it's just going to be like guaranteed defeat once that happens. So we're going to draw back up here, and I actually haven't seen a Blood Rush yet this game. That's an interesting thing to note. we're in this position, and I have not seen a blood rush. So I knew they were coming, and man, oh man, is it just endless pain for Aaron. I do feel a little bit bad. We're going to start with barraging, which is just a guarantee that this turn is over lethal. So blood rush starting out here, hitting everything I need, drawing cards. As long as I can swing claws, Blasphemfet, I mean, that's just guaranteed game. Actually, even just swinging claws is guaranteed game. So a lot of things going my way right now. I mean, heck, even just claws into Blasphemfet is lethal, or claws into the Boneyard is lethal. There are so many flavors of lethal that you can pick and choose from in a scenario like this. So, I mean, I feel bad for Aaron, but at the same time, I just love winning with Levia. So glad to see this 2-0.